All right, welcome back, everyone, and thank you so much for, sticking by. That's really nice.
Hi, everyone. We're so excited to have you for our digital storytelling workshop. My name's Georgia.
I'm Faz.
You probably already know Faz. Let's get started. Oh, 1 second. Okay, so this workshop is about digital storytelling, obviously. And in this session, we're going to talk about what exactly it is, looking at people who are maybe at beginner to intermediate level, already, in that kind of level. But if you're more advanced, we hope that you'll also learn something new and interesting and get some ideas today as well. And just so you know, in this session, we'll be focusing on Instagram as our case study, with the idea that many of the things we'll talk about can be applied to other social media channels. So we'll start with a little introduction about digital storytelling. We'll move on to think about what is a target audience and how can we find it and why is it important. We'll take you through the dreaded word of algorithms and why we need to understand them even a little bit. And then the second half will really look at what works right now when it comes to Instagram, what formats are being used, the best practices for social media, and then we'll end with looking at the Refugee Week 2024 assets and then a Q&A. So we'll have a chance for you guys to ask us questions. So if you have any questions, please do put them in the chat as we go. But first of all, we want to introduce ourselves and who Bosla Arts is, or art. Bosla Arts is an arts platform focused on sharing and supporting art activists worldwide, while drawing on their work to raise awareness to the UK public. And a kind of a big thread of what we do is looking at transnational solidarity and how we can use art as a way to connect different communities, whether in the UK or beyond, and find connections between one another. And yeah, draw on art as this form of a way of connecting each other and allowing us to understand more about what other people are going through around the world. It's run by myself, Georgia Beeston, and Baz, who you already know, and we both work in kind of digital consultancy capacities as well.
So let's go to what is digital storytelling. And when we say here digital storytelling, we're not necessarily talking about telling tales or a story in the sense of like beginning, middle, and end. What we're talking about here is content that is more human focused and more process focused rather than end product rather than something that is a bit like stiff. Um, and the reason why digital storytelling is important is well, first, it gives you a lot of content because people are always searching for the content to post because I mean social media needs consistency while the content is everything that is happening, is your day, is everything that is going on. Every business or organization or celebrity, they use storytelling in one way or another on social media. Um, Also, it's important because the algorithm loves it. And the more you have storytelling, the more you can grow your profile on social media. And the more people know about you, who you are, how you do what you do, and why you do it. Um, so,
So I think what would be fun now is if everyone just has a little think about a social media account that they really love. It can literally be anything, whether an individual or an organization or even a brand if you want. And think about why you like them. And if you want, you can put them in the chat so we can see. And I guarantee that for the accounts that are really successful, it's because they're using digital storytelling really well. And the idea is that if you are able to tell your story on a social media platform, you can allow people that come to your social media platform to know more about what you do. If I give you some famous examples, let's take Amnesty International, for example. If you look at their social media, although they have lots and lots and lots of different types of content all around the world, if you have a look at what they're doing, you'll be able to understand exactly about the kind of work that they do in human rights. I'm looking at some of your examples here, Slow Factory as well, another great one, where they're able to talk about what they represent through what they talk about on their social media. Migration Museum, also a great one. And if I'm just thinking off the top of my head as well, someone like Novara Media is another different type of platform where they are putting out content based on their media platform, for example, but through it we can understand exactly what they represent. And
Counterpoints Arts.
Counterpoints Arts, what a platform! Refugee Week and Bosla Arts. Earthrise. I haven't heard of Earthrise. Although definitely be checking it out. Thank you. And it's actually a good point that one of the best things on social media that we always do is to constantly look at other people's accounts, see what people are coming up with, see what kind of creative content people are putting out there in the different ways to capture people's interest and imagination. And we've got some examples for you here that we'll just go through. Faz, do you want to talk about these?
Yeah. So these are just general examples of different forms of storytelling. So the first one is we had an event coming. It was Affordable Art Fair, and we wanted to tell people, that this is happening. How to say that while telling a story is to highlight one of the artists. I mean, we can watch it together.
I love painting people and animals, and sometimes I love to mix them together. I'm Mariam Sanjari Hashemi, and I'm an artist. I take inspiration from wherever I can get it, from my everyday life, from the movies, from books, comic books, people in my life, and of course my Iranian heritage comes through, like memories from my upbringing in Iran. There's always an echo of that. The images come from my subconscious, and it's very dreamy. And when I paint, I just let things come through. I become a channel. I feel as if I enter this place of limitless, timeless, and I kind of lose myself. It's in a way a state of flow. And I have a lot of fun. I'm so excited that I'm exhibiting at Affordable Art Fair in collaboration with Counterpoints Arts. It's going to be from Wednesday, 6th of March until Sunday, 10th of March. The private view is on Wednesday evening from 5 to 9. Looking forward to seeing you at the Affordable Art Fair at Counterpoints Arts stall.
No, we'll talk more about like the cuts and the movement that we saw in the video. But just to give an example of a way of just like think about things storytelling based. The second example here is a different kind of storytelling because it happens after the event. So we had the event, we want to highlight what happened, we want to get people that maybe didn't come to the event to see how it was and maybe get interested in what we're going to do next as well. And also, nobody speaking in this one. It uses just text and images.
It's our very first live podcast, so we're incredibly excited to be here. And we want to start by just thanking Counterpoints Arts.
Being a black woman, being different is a challenge.
Seeing that same thing that I would see as a child growing up, seeing Afghanistan blazing the same slogan.
What your relationship to art is today and how maybe it has changed since the full-scale invasion of Ukraine.
But the full-scale war is one that touched literally everyone in Ukraine.
So So I said nobody's speaking. I was completely wrong. People are speaking. I don't know what I was thinking. Also, don't care about the amount of likes here. It's a bit random. This embedding thing doesn't get them right. But these were simple ways to reach a lot of people. Thousands of people watch these videos, which is actually, oops, what happened?
You clicked on go
Sorry,
back here.
yes. Yeah. Is it still presenting in your?
Okay, go here. You need to get
Sorry, one
So?
second.
so. Yeah. And share. Oh, you see it.
Shared?
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Now the third example is not a video, it's a carousel. And what's going on?
Let me do it. I'm going to take over. I can keep talking.
All right, I'll keep talking. So the third example is a carousel. It's not a video. Again, because storytelling doesn't necessarily have to be a video. It can be, and we're going to get to the formats later, but it can be a single post. It can be a carousel. It can be an animation. And, oh, here we go. So this is a way of just like doing kind of like a very colorful, kind of captivating design to show the highlights of Refugee Week 2023. For example, here we had to be a bit ruthless in cutting what is it that we want to say. We will have to get to the point. But yeah, carousel is another great way of also telling a big story as big as Refugee Week 2023 in a quick way. So yeah, again, these were three examples of just different kinds of storytelling. Move to the next slide.
Okay, so one of the most important things when trying to actually actively use storytelling on your social media platforms is to think about who your target audience is. And this is it's quite a difficult thing to figure out, but it's also the most important thing to figure out. So, sorry, who are you targeting? When you put a post out, who do you want to see it? Obviously, in an ideal world, we want every single person in the world to be interested in what we're doing. But in reality, we have to think about the kind of niche of our work. So it could be what country your target audience is based in, and therefore what language do they speak? How old are they? Because we know that different age groups are using different social media platforms. And what are their interests? And once you kind of start to define this, it will make it much easier when you come to put out your content and think about other types of content that you might want to try to reach them. It's also really helpful because in a second, I'll show you how to look at insights into who your audience are. And it's important to then look at the gaps. So if you're perhaps reaching an older audience, but you want to be meeting a younger one, how can you connect to them? What are they interested in on social media? What kind of content are they looking at on social media? It helps you kind of narrow it down. Similarly, if you're only reaching men, why isn't your content reaching women, and how can you be sure to reach women, or vice versa? So it's really, really important to know it, and then you can start to build on it. And also, once you have this understanding of who your target audience is, it allows you to build the reach on your page through what's called growth content. So if my target audience is 18 to 25-year-olds who are based in London and are interested in, let's say, social justice and music, just randomly, what other types of content can I be putting out there to make them more interested in my page? It might not be connected to what we do exactly, but it's content that they'll be interested in interacting with more. And so then, as an example, I might start putting out regular playlists for people to listen to, recommendations, spotlights, that kind of thing. So it's just about, once you know your target audience, how you can appeal to them to make them share your posts, interact with them more. And I have some examples in the next slide on this kind of growth content that could be interesting to explore. And it's from 3 different platforms. So again, Counterpoints Arts in collaboration with other organizations, one on Bosla Arts and another organization, Pen International, which who I've worked with. And this first example is showing how a post can do really, really well and also then help you learn about maybe what your audience is looking for and what you can post in the future. So this reel that I'm going to share with you, Faz, maybe you can introduce it, has over 1.5 million views, so it's done extremely well. And it kind of shows the kind of content that maybe Counterpoints' audience really enjoy, which is comedy connected to kind of more serious social political issues of today.
Yeah, I mean, we can just watch it. It's Fatiha Al-Ghuri, and it's a very hilarious, kind of very short video.
One time we went to France and we were coming back, right? And they were being really arsy at customs. I just don't know why, do you know what I mean? So they called an officer over, right? And their office is over there. They have guns, right? So this gun wanker, right? Starts cocking it, right? And my mum turns around to me in Arabic and she's like, Fatiha, tell him, we are Muslim, we are not scared of death. I was like, listen, yeah, you ain't scared of death, I'm shitting my hijab, do you know what I'm saying? So he turns around to me, he goes to me, oh, what did she say? And I was like, oh, viva la France.
That's an example of something that went really well, that really appealed to Counterpoints' audience. The second one, and you're gonna have to excuse my misspelling of recommends. I'm dyslexic and I missed it and I'm really upset, but I'm not going to delete it. This is an example of how with Bosla Arts we're trying to kind of widen our scope. We know that our audience is interested in art, activism, and social justice. So we want to start putting out content that appeals to us, that we're really interested in anyway, but also can maybe build on our community online through recommending books, music, films once a month, just as a nice way of kind of connecting people and putting different types of content there. Again, we wanted to make it quite relevant. We did this at a time where the book still is incredibly relevant. And so it's just a nice way.
Sorry, everyone.
I'm just going to control the thing.
All right,
it's just a nice way of putting other kinds of content out here. And then an example of why it's so important to know who you're targeting. This final one by Pen International. Pen International, for those who don't know, is a network of 100 centers around the world focusing on literature and freedom of expression. And the reason I use this example is that we put out a statement on the current protests in Senegal. And the target was really the people of Senegal. It was about, speaking out against the crackdowns on protesters in Senegal. We put it on our usual channels and it didn't get very much interest. And then after researching more about, what types of social media Senegalese people are using the most, so it was Facebook. Obviously, the language is really important, so we put out in French and we got really, really good results from it. So it's just thinking, just showing the importance.
Just wanted to get the second slide because that's more like storytelling.
It's just showing the importance of knowing your target audience. Yeah, and then a final note on target audience is just a really helpful tip really for you to use, which is the insights that all social media platforms will give you to different degrees. So on Instagram, you can find it in your page, you say view insights. And this is really helpful after you posted a little bit to see who your audience is. There's different softwares you can pay for to get more in-depth ones, but if you're starting out, this will suffice. So, as you can see, it shows us who we've reached. It shows us the type of content that has worked best. So for us, it's Reels, which is interesting. And also it's helped us reach a lot of non-followers. You can see that our top country is the United Kingdom and our second one is Egypt. So we might in the future look to create content that is also for Egyptian audiences slightly more. And then as you can see, our top age range is 25 to 34. And so in the coming months, we might look to start pushing out content that is more focused on 18 to 24 year olds. And the same, we've got a majority women, so 40% men. So it allows you to kind of understand a bit about what the content you're putting out there and who it's reaching and why.
All right. So now we get to algorithms, the big A, and also how things work right now. And that's a very interesting part to me, actually, because social media has changed away from being social, actually, recently. And it was a trend that really like kind of peaked with TikTok. So if you think about it, like TikTok is a social media, but yet you don't go on TikTok to actually see your friends or people that you care about. Quite the opposite. People go on TikTok to see people that they don't know. And that model has been kind of adapted by many other platforms after that, YouTube, Instagram, so now the idea that when you used to follow someone, that meant that you're telling this platform that, hey, I'm interested in this person. I want to see everything that they post. Now that changed from when you follow somebody, it kind of means that, I'm interested in this type of content and kind of this person as well, show me a bit of what they post. And that happened not because like social media is run by evil people and it's not all dark. It is because these platforms run out of ads, and uh, their best interest is that people spend the most time they can on the platform. So they have all these softwares, which is algorithms, that work into recording how content performs and prioritize the content that people spend most time. And that's where we get to a really interesting and very important term. It's called retention rate. And the retention rate is the time people spend on your post. And that's very important, and especially when it comes to the first hours you post. So for example, I make a post. What Instagram will do, this is just a very simplified example. They will take, in the first 5 minutes, they will show it to 50 people and record how these 50 people reacted to it. For example, they stopped and they scrolled through it, or they spent time on it. That makes Instagram go, and okay, next 5 minutes, I'm going to push it to 200 more people. And that's how content gets trending eventually, if something will get trending. As opposite to, let's say I posted something and the first 50 people, most of them just scrolled through it very quickly, didn't really care. Then Instagram, instead of pushing it to 200 next, it just pushes it to just 50 more. And then if those 50 also did the same, then Instagram will eventually kind of give up on my content quickly. And this is very important to know, because when we know that, we understand that, for example, if we're on Instagram and we're putting a landscape kind of post, that means that the time, just physically, because it's short, it's going to appear short, the time people will spend scrolling through that post is going to be just physically shorter than the time they will spend scrolling through something that is vertical, a reel, for example. So that in itself is going to affect how the post is going to perform. And therefore, if you're using Instagram, completely, as much as you can, stay away from landscape posts. It also teaches us that, like, if you put text, people are going to spend more time on the post because they're going to be reading that text. which translates into more retention rate, which translates into more reach. For some weird example, for some weird reason, eyes are very important for people's retention rate. When there's eyes, and the bigger they are, the more retention rate it is. If you have somebody with big eyes like Georgia, then you have better chances of just getting people to care about your content, as opposite to somebody with closed eyes and thumbnail or in your post. And then again, we have here what to avoid. Then of course, closed eyes, landscape, low quality images, and for some reason also black and white designs don't perform well at all. You know, if you post like a video with no text or no caption, or just an image with no caption, yeah, this is not good. Repetitions as well. If you posted something and then you posted it again, or a design that really looks the same, it's not going to perform like the first one, because people just immediately think that, oh, I've seen this before, so they scroll faster on it, less retention rate, less reach. Unless, and this is a rule in social media, there's the unless rule, because social media is like crypto, it's unexpected. There's always, you know, something that will surprise you. Something, it could be maybe a black and white design that will work, so a video with closed eyes that will work. So there's always that exception, but these are just kind of like rule of thumb. And there's other things that kind of always works, which is personal. The more you put yourself out there, people love that, because people care about you. As opposite to just things that are less human. Celebrations, I mean, if you don't do them too often, people are usually like gonna care about that. So don't miss chances of actually celebrating something, achievement that you've done in your organization, 10 years, something like that, that always performs well. Tutorials as well, that's like, we can call that maybe added value. Added value is just what people, when they watch the video, they're left out with something, you know, that something could be a thought, it could be a tutorial, could be learning how to do something that always performs well. For some reason, funny and comedy also always performs well. And I think it's just because, you know, life is getting more and more difficult. People want to laugh, people want to kind of, you know, have fun. So also, you know, remember, keep it funny, keep it light. Let's go to the next slide. Now we go to the formats, and we're moving here from how things work to what works, or like we can call these like mediums, you know. And again, because we took Instagram because, well, first it's to our organizations and to ourselves and to Counterpoints and other organizations, Instagram is like one of the main social media platforms where we have our largest audience, and it also because it has a lot of variations of formats that exist also on other platforms. So if we talk about Reels, then that's on TikTok. If we talk about single posts, that's on Facebook. If we talk about stories, that's on Snapchat and other platforms. So we're talking about single post stories, which is a 24 hours posts, and that's later how we can use that kind of 20-hour thing. And then live, and we usually use live for interviews. It's kind of like a cheap podcast alternative. Carousels, which is stills that you scroll through, and reels, which is short video. So if we talk single posts, and we're talking about your feed on Instagram. Here we can use a design, text with graphics. That's like something that really performs well. Or a very strong photo, preferably with a strong caption as well. Illustrations as well. That's the best thing for illustrations, is to have them as a single post. And the thing that you always go to a single post, I would say, is when it's a call to action. And a call to action is when you want people to do something very specific. So for example, we want people to register to the Refugee Week conference. Then we have to have a single post that says, register to the Refugee Week conference. Or if you want to sell tickets to an event, or if you want people to vote for you for an award. So again, single posts, I've touched upon that, but faces are very important and open eyes are very important. High quality. And if we talk about single posts when it comes to like pros and cons, so let's say that the best thing about single posts is that they can communicate a very defined message very well. They're very easy because it's just one single thing. You put it out, a video. But on the other side, they only appear once, as opposite to something like the carousel, which appears more than once to one single viewer. So that's double retention rate there. And I think single post, there's so many things that you can do with a single post. You can use the caption to tell a very compelling story. You can use the images to also tell a very compelling story. And these are some examples for a single post. So the first one is a bit of animation I have done before it was replaced with the better animation by Manjeet. But if you're posting an animation, you cannot post it as a GIF, you have to post it as a short video. But obviously, if it's an animation, if it's an illustration, single post is the way to go. The second example here is a call to action. This event, book your ticket. The best way of doing that, it wouldn't be a video, it would be to just have a design. It might not get the best reach, not as a video, but it will be more effective. The fewer people that will see it are more likely to actually book tickets rather than a video that they might not eventually book the ticket. Now, obviously, if you have an event like that, what you should do is that you have different variations of content to get out there. So we do that for the ticket, and then we have another video that has more storytelling and has more about why should people come, why should people care about this event. And then the third example here, that's a really good example of like a strong image. And while here you cannot see photos, eyes and big faces, like I always say, but it is a strikingly beautiful image, and also it had a very strong caption that had to do with what was going on in Palestine. We cannot see the caption here, and I'm very scared of clicking it and Georgia killing me. Yeah, so but you have to trust me. There's no strong caption right there.
Yeah, and this is a good part to just mention Canva. I don't know if maybe everyone here already is familiar with it, but Canva is such a great tool to use if you're like me, not someone who has a background in art or graphic design, but is looking to create these like images or needing templates for social media. And I actually use Canva for all social media. I use it for video editing as well. I use it for designing flyers or doing this presentation, which I also did on Canva. So if you're a registered charity, you can get it for free. If not, you can get a subscription for not that much. And the best thing about it is that it has all of these, oh yeah, we put that in the chat. We're going to put a link in the chat to a video tutorial about how to use it. But it basically is a software where you can get templates and customize them to fit your own brand or your own whatever kind of content you're looking to make. They format it all for you, so you can format the same image into Instagram or Twitter, Facebook, whatever. And they also have stock images you can use. They have designs they can use. They even have audio you can use. So it's just a really, really great place to start making content. So if you'd like to learn more, you can watch the video that we just put in the chat, and it's really, really good place to start. So now we're going to talk about the second format, which is stories. And stories are really great, kind of low maintenance types of posting on Instagram that you can do. They only last 24 hours unless you highlight them, which means that you basically pin it to your social media page. And there, it's just a space for kind of less curated, quite free and open posting. So it gives you a direct interaction with your audience or your online community. So it's a space where you can show behind the scenes. So for Bosla, which I didn't do, but I should have, is maybe taken a photo of Faz here and said, we're about to start the workshop. It's a place where if you're looking to get feedback from your online following, you can ask questions saying, what do you think about this? And people will respond. Really nice way to understand what is maybe missing that people want to see you posting. You can reshare, so another platform might tag you and you can reshare what they've tagged. It's a really fantastic way of reaching new audiences, and you can also promote others. So quite often we're sharing other things that different organizations are doing that we think our audience would be interested in seeing as well, including kind of job openings, that kind of thing. So it only lasts 24 hours, so you have quite a lot of freedom there. You can put out something and it doesn't need to, it will go, so that's a good thing. And it's got this kind of sense of being a bit, what's the word, cut and paste. It's just giving you a little bit of background into an organization without you needing to do that much. A few important tips is that you should if you do a post on your feed, so if that's a reel or a post that Faz was just talking about, you should always share it to your story straight away. That's going to get your followers to see it more quickly. I don't know if everyone here is on Instagram, but what people do as kind of a natural thing now is you open your Instagram page and before looking at any post, you look at your stories. So you want to make sure you're always putting your post, anything that you post onto your feed, into your story immediately, because then people will see it and click through and look at the post. You also want to make sure that if you're posting something onto your feed, if you have kind of like a huge backlog of stories still on, unless they're very important, we'd suggest deleting them so that your first story that appears is the most important thing you want people to see, because the likelihood of people clicking you lose people with every click. And with stories, like anything, you can see who's been looking at it, so you can see the numbers. So you might post something that gets very few views and you might post something else that gets loads, and then you can think about why is it that people like that? What did I post that people like? And this is just a kind of example of everything that you can do when you post a story. This is a great account that Faz is going to post in the link, which just gives you some nice ideas.
Very simple kind of things that you can do with the stories, utilizing all these things.
It's the same one. But basically, just to give you some inspiration, so you can do a quiz, which is like asking people to guess the answer to some questions that could be to do with whatever it is that you're doing on your page. You can have links, so that's really, really important. Obviously, you cannot put a clickable link in your main feed post. So when we have, let's say, when we put out a post for this Refugee Week conference, we put a post on our main feed and then we put it to our story with a link to register. So then it gives people a direct way of signing up. You can put polls to ask people their opinions. You can put questions to get like a Q&A going, and loads and loads of different things that you can do. So it's just a really great way of engaging your online community. And it's me again. The next one is Alive. This is probably the less common format that people use, but it is still being used quite a lot. Sorry. It was particularly big during I think during COVID, probably, I think a lot of people were doing it because it's basically a way where you cross post your you share with another account and you go live. You can do it by yourself, but I think unless you're, I don't know, it depends. Most commonly, you share it with another account. You go live together and you have a conversation, kind of like a live podcast, I guess. So it's really good for interacting with different accounts and different audiences. For example, when Bosla Arts first started, we had a very small following and we were looking at we knew we wanted to have a podcast in the future, but to start with, we had a lot of different conversations with really interesting, amazing people on our Instagram through the live. And so you advertise it, the time that it's going to be, you put it so people know when it's going to start. Then once it starts, you have the live, and then you put it in your feed afterwards so people can go back and watch it. And as you're going live, the followers of each account get notified about it. And it gets people interested in looking at who you are. If they're following the account you're going live with, they'll probably be interested in what you're doing and what you have to do. So it's a really nice way of kind of building on your following. And just some things that we learned in the process, the quality of image and sound is really important. If you think about how you yourself might interact with a live video, you don't necessarily want to watch something if the sound is really bad or the image quality is very, very low. Of course, sometimes you can't help it, it's just the way it is, but as much as possible, you want to try and get that really high quality image and sound. And try and keep it fairly short. People's attention rates are so short these days. So I think 30 minutes is the best for a live video. Yeah, I think that's all.
Now we go to the carousel, which we kind of touched upon. I'm also aware of time, we might just run a few minutes after, if that's okay with everyone. So yeah, carousel design, text plus graphics, same as single posts. You can also here just add photos, just a series of photos of an event. Or also you can just go just text, which now performs really well, again, because of retention rate. People spend more time reading, so translates that to the algorithms that people care about this post. You can just have one photo, one text. What is this best for? It would be, I would say, best for news. If you're something that has to do with current affairs that you're interacting with as an organization, you can just make a carousel of the news itself. If it's news about you specifically, that would work really well. It also works really well with statements if you want to release a statement there, if that's something that you do, or event photos, for example. These are just some examples, but it works for so many things. Very versatile kind of medium. And since it appeared on Instagram, it's just getting bigger and bigger. These are some examples of like the best kind of carousels that worked for us. This was a highlight of an event. Very simple, tells the story with minimal kind of words. This carousel we looked at before. This is kind of more work, more design. But here I wanted to show that kind of continuity that you can play with carousel with. If you see that rainbow, it goes from one post to another, which kind of invites people to scroll more into that direction. And a third example is this statement by counterpoints. This is an example of just text. And it performed really well when we put it out. Obviously, when you have a statement or when you have something that is strong, text heavy, you want people to just care about it. And a lot of people might think that this doesn't work on Instagram. It really works well. And now we go to Reels, which is, I would say, king of formats or king of medium at the moment. 1 minute is best always with Reels. 1 minute gets further and further in reach than longer. And again, this is because of attention attention span if it was so short. Cover image is very important. So I would recommend that when you post a reel, think about your cover image really well and think about it being a vertical image and at the same time a square image. Best thing is to, on Canva, you have your own template, which is easily designed. Just put a square in the middle, you make it large, and kind of put your logo in there to make it look very contained when it's just a square, and also looks really well when it's vertical. I would say upload a cover image from your device instead of taking it from the reel, because that way it can be better quality. You can maybe even edit it slightly, do it auto kind of edit just to enhance the colors a bit. Always use music in reels unless your speech is really strong. Captions is very important for for accessibility, but also people watch reels on transportation most of the time. Now, when we talk about shots, behind the scenes are very important. POVs, think about yourself when you have a camera and you're kind of even filming with your phone. That's what I usually do, like a fly. You're just seeing multiple things at the same time. You want to do this B-reel thing where it goes from one thing to another thing. And also think pans, so you move from up and down, left and right, and have quick cuts. Again, attention rate. Another thing is that there's no thing as no content. So easiest thing you can do with Reels is that you just open the camera and speak to it. And that's called face to camera. And that performs always really well. Again, humor, info, personal, natural, crafty. You don't have to make a film.
And it's really a time to experiment. I think Reels are a really fun place to just try and be creative and experiment. And the first thing I always do when I'm trying to think about it is I look at what other people are posting, what other creative ideas are people doing. You know, you can gather inspiration and just play around with it. Maybe we just
so in that example, that was just to show like that there is no thing as no content. We had an open mic, we wanted to advertise it, we had no content. So I literally opened the microphone. Just a crazy idea, but it got a lot of but it kind
and Faz and I have noticed that when on Bosla Arts, the times when we get a lot of interaction is when we show both of our faces. So it's like it's a good way of just kind of, you know, boosting an event basically.
We'll be sharing this presentation with you all, so you can also go through these examples. In these two videos, you will see what I meant about being apply, where you kind of see POV, like point of view, you see like you were in that event. All what you need is just to kind of have like a layer down, and you can do that on Canva of your audio or the person speaking or your music, and then cut on top your shots, whether pans, whether entering kind of scene. People are just, their minds are programmed to like these kind of shots because this is how you usually explore things, whether you're like entering from a door or looking things up, down, or left, right. These movements are really nice. They look great. And, you know, the more cuts, the more shots, the better the video.
And this is all footage that's just been taken on a phone as well. So it doesn't have, reels don't have to be, you know, you don't have to have the best film camera in the world. It's just about taking shots and putting it together.
Yeah, Almir earlier, which is the director of Counterpoints, wanted to replace me with an iPhone.
Okay, so we have very little time, so I'll just go through it quickly, but this is just some best practice tips when you're going to post, and this applies to all of social media and also websites. So looking a lot, one of the most common things that I've started actually finding in other organizations I work with is that image rights are becoming more of an issue. There are these kind of like scary organizations in the US that track who's using images illegally and try and make you pay for it. So having the rights to images is always really important. Obviously, not everyone can afford to go to Getty and pay a crazy amount for a stock image. But somewhere like Wiki Commons is a great place to start if you're looking for free stock images, but also Canva has a lot of images. So that's one thing, always have consent to use images. And then obviously if you're using a photograph that someone has given permission to use, make sure you always credit them. Same with video, any kind of content. So what we do is if we have let's say we're doing an event and someone is a speaker and they've sent us a photo of themselves and said, please credit this person, we'll always at the end of any time we share that photo or on the website, credit the photographer.
And it's very important to just things that you need to think about and maybe have like your own guidelines. And obviously there's a lot of general guidelines and right things to do and very wrong things to do. And these things are quite clear. So consent, video or not. And then in our kind of work, representation is very important. Don't represent somebody in kind of weak way. Always try to represent people in a strong, kind of powerful way. Working with children, you have to get consent from their parents.
And vulnerable adults as well from there.
Exactly. Also fact checking, if you're including any facts in your posts, you have to, double check, especially now with AI and stuff like that. You always get a lot of, some AI hallucination in your posts. So be aware of that.
We've rushed that a bit, but I think everything is clear. Do you want to quickly talk about assets for Refugee Week?
Yeah, so on the website now, and it will keep on coming as well, you'll find some assets for Refugee Week 2024. And last year, 2023, we were so happy and delighted by seeing what people did with these assets and how people created just amazing designs using these free assets. Manjeet Tab is happy for everyone to use all her designs, and she's provided her work in very separate elements, so you can play with it as much as you want. So also just remember to join the Thunderclap on Monday, 17th of June, which was one of the biggest moments last Refugee Week. So let's create another big one and always use the hashtags. This time it's just Refugee Week without the year, Refugee Week, Simple Acts, and Our Home.
And the assets, right? What did you say that?
I can
Okay.
These are some of the beautiful, also simple acts that we're going to start counting down from the 15th of April running to Refugee Week. Every week we're going to be celebrating a simple act, and it's kind of like a really nice idea for organizations to also think about what kind of content working on Refugee Week that they can share in that time. So for example, Get Active gives me a lot of inspiration for reels. Share a Meal gives me a lot of inspiration for kind of carousels with for example, recipes. There's so many, like if we can apply just these amazing inspirations that you can now find on the Refugee Week website with some of the practical stuff and put them in really beautiful formats, I can imagine like amazing content coming out.
And that's all. Thank you so much all for joining. You've got our contact details there, our website, our social media. So please do get in touch if you have any questions for us. Follow us if you're interested in our work. And I'm not sure if we have enough time for questions. I don't think we do.
But you can please just like text us on Instagram or email us. We hope that this wasn't very rushed. We had 45 minutes and we hope that we were as useful as we want it to be. Thank you so much.
And thank you for listening as well.